and welcome to Nana's Crafty Home. My name is Tanya. Today's tutorial is going to show you how to crochet the brioche stitch, which is a crochet stitch that looks like knit. It's a 1-row repeat, and I use this stitch for my Cherish Hat. And the Cherish Hat can be found on my website as a free crochet pattern. For this hat, I am using a number 5 weight bulky yarn. It's a Lion Brand Basic Stitch Thick and Quick antimicrobial yarn. The great thing about this stitch is you can use any number of chains for your foundation chain, so no stitch multiples for this particular stitch pattern. That makes this hat very easy to adjust to any size. I have 2 options for you. You can make the hat to be the height where you can fold it up, to have a folded up brim, or you could work less chains to have shorter height so that your hat is not folded up and you wear it as a slouchy hat without a brim. So let's go ahead and get started. With a bulky weight yarn, a size L or an 8.0 millimeter crochet hook, I'm going to chain 34 for the folded brim. If you don't want a folded brim for your hat, I recommend chaining only 28. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 34. After you've worked your chains, we're going to start with row 1. This stitch is a double slip stitch. So we are going to yarn over, just as we would for a double crochet. We're going to insert our hook into that second chain from our hook, yarn over, pull it through that stitch, and then pull it through the other 2 loops on our hook. Yarn over, insert our hook into the next chain, yarn over, and pull through all the loops on our hook. So we're working a combination of a double crochet and a slip stitch by yarning over, but then pulling through all the loops like we do for a slip stitch. Very easy. Might be a little awkward at first, but yarning over, inserting, yarning over, and pulling through all the loops on your hook to complete your stitch. And we're going to work that double slip stitch into every chain. And so our stitch count, because we worked into that second chain, will be 1 less than the number of chains that we made for our foundation chain. So with a total of 34 chains at the beginning, we will end up with 33 for our total stitch count. And so I'm going to continue working that double slip stitch in every chain to the end. So at the end, after I've worked a double slip stitch into every chain, I'm going to turn, chain 1, and for row 2, I'm going to work a double slip stitch into every stitch, but I'm going to change the placement. So typically, when we work our stitches, we would be working into the top 2 loops along the top edge of those stitches, but I'm going to work into this loop in the front of that stitch. So when you're looking at your stitches from above, you see the V, the top, roll that away from you slightly, so then you can see these ridges, these loops in the front, and that's where I'm going to be working my stitches. So again, yarning over and inserting our hook into that first loop below our chain 1, and then yarning over and pulling through all the loops to make another double slip stitch. Inserting our hook into that next front loop, yarning over and pulling through all the loops. Again, yarning over, inserting, yarning over and pulling through. And making another double slip stitch into the next stitch and continue on down the row. Sometimes I have a hard time getting through that first loop on my hook there. And so I'm going to show you on the other side, we end up with this beautiful ridge. So I'm just going to continue working a double slip stitch in that front loop for the remainder of this row. Now I'm just going to caution you, make sure that you don't miss the final stitch of your row. So it may look a little different on the end here, but we have one more loop in the front that we want to pick up. And a great way to double check and make sure is to do a stitch count to make sure that you haven't dropped any stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have a total of 33 stitches, which would be correct, and I'm going to turn for my next row. And so we're just going to continue repeating row 2 until we get to the size desired. And so I'm going to chain 1 and come down with a double slip stitch into that front loop. So again, rolling that away from you so that you can see the front loop clearly and working your double slip stitch into that front loop. In my pattern for an adult medium, I'm going to be working through row 69, but you can simply adjust that to the width that you desire for your hat. I have a couple of other tutorials that may help you finish your hat, and I will have links below in the description for you. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial today. Thanks so much for joining me. As always, remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you never miss a new video. Thanks everyone. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.